So in episode 1, we saw till day 3 of our 10-day road trip from Dayton, Ohio to Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming. And in episode 2, you'll be seeing the rest of the journey which we did. If you haven't seen the first video, I'm dropping the link above, so make sure you see it and drop in your comments and like the video. So after driving for 1800 miles, we finally reached Yellowstone. Not technically Yellowstone, we are staying at Gardiner, Montana, but it's very close to Yellowstone. So did you guys know Yellowstone is the first national park of United States? And it's known for the hot springs and geysers throughout the area. That's because Yellowstone is actually on top of volcano. Relax. The last volcanic eruption was somewhere around 640,000 years ago. So it's pretty much inactive, but hey, you never know. Sorry. And also, if you have visited Yellowstone before, you would be knowing the whole area smells like a chemistry lab. That is because of the sulfuric acid and hydrogen sulfide gas being emitted by these geysers. It was day 4 and we opened our eyes to this gorgeous view from our hotel. So since our hotel was nearby to Yellowstone, we were not bound by time and we had a list of places to visit, and first in our list was the Mammoth Springs. Old Faithful Spring basically got its name because of its perfectly timed geyser. Nobody really knows how or why does Old Faithful maintain its perfect timing. So the national website of the Yellowstone has listed the Old Faithful timings, and make sure you reach the place well ahead of time for a perfect place to view. One of the must-visit places if you are visiting Yellowstone is Grand Prismatic Springs. And the best time to view Grand Prismatic Spring is on a sunny day, because only then you will be able to perfectly see the colors of Grand Prismatic Spring. But when we went, it was not sunny, so we had to make use of what we had. So friends, that was day 4 of our road trip and day 1 in Yellowstone. More to come. So plan for day 5 was to visit the Artist Point, the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, Hayden Valley and the Dragon's Mouth Spring. So we started with the majestic Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. There are namely 2 viewpoints over here, the higher falls and the lower falls. You can take a small trek or take your car to go to these viewpoints. is always a crazy person in a group who likes to jump whenever they are happy. And since happiness is contagious, this happened, which led to this, and eventually this. We ended our day 5 with the awesome dance performance at the Artist Point. But we had a lot of packing to do because tomorrow it was time to bid farewell to Yellowstone. Our next stay for the night was at Dubois, Wyoming, and the journey was somewhere around 4 hours and 300 miles which we had to cover. Just a note, the journey and the interior roads in the Yellowstone National Park are sometimes closed when you are visiting the winter time, so make sure you check and plan accordingly. Our other 2 friends headed back to their place and we continued with our journey. So on day 6, we had planned the Norris Geyser Basin and then proceed to Grand Teton and then towards Dubois, Wyoming. But God had different plans for us. Our earlier visit to Grand Prismatic was not fruitful because it was not sunny and it was cloudy and we couldn't see properly. So on day 6, we actually saw it was sunny, so we made a spontaneous plan of visiting Grand Prismatic once again. So there are 2 ways to view Grand Prismatic Spring. One is through a trail. We already saw that on day 4, and there is one more way where you need to have a small trek and go to the top of a mountain, and that's the most spectacular way you can see Grand Prismatic. So it was lunchtime, guys, and we were super hungry. The only option in the nearby area is the Old Faithful Inn. The best part for us was it was on our way to Grand Teton, but the worst part was the restaurant was super crowded and we lost a good amount of time over there. So while awaiting our turn, we thought of roaming around the Old Faithful Inn and our mind was completely blown. The place is massive and there's a huge fireplace at the center of the lobby. Did you know the Old Faithful Inn is considered as largest log structure in the world, meaning it's made completely of wood. So I don't think it's a good idea to have a massive fireplace in it. So jokes apart, guys, it's really massive and magnificent structure. I would definitely recommend you to visit. So after driving for 4.5 hours, we finally reached Dubois, Wyoming. So day 7 was actually a resting day for us, and we had our next place of stay at Estes Park, Colorado, which is around 7 hours and 400 miles to drive. We hadn't planned any place to visit on day 7, but our journey was taking us through Rocky Mountains and the highest altitude paved road, Mount Evans. The road to Mount Evans can be closed during winter, so again, make sure you check and plan your trip. So at the end of 7.5 hours and after passing through the Trail Ridge Road, also known as Highway 34, we finally reached Estes Park. Day 8 welcomed us with this spectacular view from our hotel room. So we resumed our journey by driving back through the Trail Ridge Road to reach the highest drivable point in USA. The entire drive is very scenic. It's cold and windy as well outside, so make sure you carry your jackets. The view was close to what we see in Leh Ladakh in India. By the way, that's still in my must visit before dying list. When we reached, the visitor center was closed, but the park was open without any restriction. The whole time we were wondering, how didn't the sand dunes come here in the middle of nowhere? So if you guys know how, drop it in the comments. From the Great Sand Dunes, we started driving for the next 4 hours to reach our stay for the night, which is at Colorado Springs. The day 9 plan was to visit Cave of the Winds and then move on to the Garden of Gods and then Red Rock Canyon. So Cave of the Winds is an outdoor activity attraction and it is famous for this one ride called Pterodactyl.
Vimal, do you have tissues? It's a planned time to leave, 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So we all were having a lot of fun over here and we actually forgot we had to go other places also. But because of our rule, no driving after midnight, we had to start towards our next place to stay at night, which is at Topeka, Kansas. So after driving for 8 hours, we reached the last stay for the trip, which is at Topeka, Kansas. So it's day 10. Sounds like day 10. Anyways, it was the last day of our 10-day trip and we had a 10-hour long drive remaining to reach our home. On the way, we were discussing the complete trip, the places, the experiences, and obviously we were feeling a bit sad because it was coming to an end. So this was the last pic of the trip which we took right before returning the car, and it shows the total drive time and the driving miles. So at the end of almost 4,600 miles and traveling through 12 states, we finally reached Dayton, Ohio, with a heart full of memories and unforgettable experiences. That was our 10-day long trip all the way from Dayton, Ohio to Yellowstone, our OLRT. Hope you guys enjoyed episode 1 and episode 2. So if you have any questions on our various places which we visited, any kind of information on the hotels which we stayed, please ask on the comments. If you liked my video, if you think my video helped you in planning your trip or even inspired you to have a trip for yourself, make sure you like and share my video. And don't forget to click on the red button called subscribe. So this is Vimal signing off, and
I'll be back.